The closing bell has rung, but the business story continues. I'm Robert Tan, you're watching Business Brief. Let's get started. The Philippine government will seek diplomatic talks with Iran to ensure the safe passage of its fuel shipments through the Strait of Hormuz. Malacañang vows to safeguard the country's rights in the West Philippine Sea amid oil exploration talks with China. And truck and bus drivers in Paris demand more government aid. As the government diversifies fuel sources to secure supply, it is also moving to ensure safe passage of oil shipments through the Strait of Hormuz. Diplomatic talks with Iran are now underway as President Marcos Jr. directs the Department of Foreign Affairs to initiate talks with the Iranian ambassador.
Ayon po kay Secretary Tess Lazaro ng DFA, makikipag-usap po siya sa ambassador ng Iran. Most probably po ay tomorrow. Kung hindi man po magkakaroon ng schedule tomorrow, by next week po.
The move comes as the government works to keep fuel supply uninterrupted amid the rising tensions in the Middle East, threatening global oil flows through the Strait of Hormuz. The White House says Trump is open to calling on Arab states to help fund the Iran war. White House Press Secretary Caroline Leavitt confirms the idea is under consideration, with more details expected from the president.
Well, I think it's something the president would be quite interested in calling them to do. I won't get ahead of him on that, but certainly it's an idea that I know that he has and something that I think you'll hear more from him on.
Meanwhile, the White House says back-channel talks with Iran are moving forward. Officials claim negotiations are progressing despite Tehran's public rejection of U.S. proposals. Truck and bus drivers in France are demanding more government aid, and the Egyptian government shortens operating hours of shops. The effects of the Middle East crisis on various parts of the globe, from Joel Caballero.
Britain's Prime Minister Keir Starmer met with business leaders, government and military officials at Downing Street on Monday. They discussed the economic impact of the Middle East conflict. Starmer asserts that de-escalating the situation and bringing an end to the conflict was the most important thing they could do, and part of it is opening the Strait of Hormuz.
At the government level, just on the Straits of Hormuz, to let you know what we're up to, is firstly we've been bringing together a sort of coalition of countries around the notion that we do have to de-escalate and find a way forward. Now we started that with the sort of key European countries, the so-called E4, which is Germany, Italy, France and the United Kingdom. But we've now got about 35 countries that are signed up to that, so that is good.
In Paris, dozens of drivers of trucks and buses protest rising fuel costs. They are demanding more government aid to the transportation sector. The government has announced it will provide 50 million euros, or roughly more than $57 million, in aid to transport companies for the month of April. The move aims to alleviate the oil shock for businesses.
I tell them, we'll do everything for them not to die out, because we need them, because the transport of goods and travelers in our country accounts for 90% of all transport, because the majority of them are mostly small or medium-sized businesses that feed France, and we need these businesses to survive.
Over in Egypt, the government has ordered business establishments to close early to cut electricity consumption. Shops and restaurants must shut at 9 p.m. under the new curfew. That's nearly 4 hours earlier than usual. Billboards and public lights are also being switched off. Only popular tourist destinations have been exempted. Joel Caballero, Bilyonaryo News Channel.
The Bangko Sentral ng Pilipinas, or BSP, projects March inflation to settle between 3.1 and 3.9%. The BSP says inflation risks have intensified due to the higher fuel prices and rising rice costs, among others. Lower prices of vegetables, fish, and meat may help ease pressures, but upside risks remain. The central bank says it will closely monitor inflation, growth prospects, and developments in the Middle East. If the BSP's forecast comes true, this will be higher than the 2.4% inflation recorded in February. Palace Press Officer Claire Castro says the country will safeguard its rights in the West Philippine Sea. This as Manila and Beijing open talks on potential offshore oil and gas exploration. The two countries also held discussions on the importance of stable access to energy and fertilizer, as well as trade and agriculture. In an interview with Bloomberg, President Marcos said the Middle East conflict could provide a drive for the Philippines and China to reach a deal in jointly developing oil and gas resources in the West Philippine Sea. Motorists are holding off on refueling for now, but a surge is expected as Holy Week travel picks up. Pierre Pastor has more. Go ahead, Pierre.
Robert, upon checking several gas stations in Quezon City and in the NLEX area, there are a few motorists who are refueling. We are expecting people having their gas tanks full for the long trips this Holy Week. Gas station personnel says refuelers might come tomorrow as more travelers are expected to leave Manila tomorrow afternoon. The highest so far is 140 pesos per liter of diesel in one gasoline station along Kalayaan Avenue, Quezon City. One station is selling diesel at 118 pesos per liter. This is the same gas station who was the first one to raise their price at 112. In Quezon City today, Petron diesel is at 132 per liter. Their power diesel is 135 per liter. Extra, 95.90. Premium XCS is 97.90. At Caltex diesel is 138 pesos per liter, power diesel 147.10, silver at 99.65, premium at 105.20. And at Shell, diesel is 136.10. Power diesel is 145.10 per liter. Shell Fuel Save gasoline is 98.10 and Shell Power is 105.60. Robert, we spoke to several travelers or motorists, and they say they would rather have their full tanks here in Manila because they're not sure if the gasoline might be higher in the provinces that they are going to. Here in Petron, in Philcoa, the gasoline is cheaper, so people are in line. Robert.
Okay, thank you for that report, Pierre Pastor. As oil prices keep climbing, driving up the cost of goods, the Department of Trade and Industry reminds the public no need to panic buy. Ched Gatchalian has the details.
Robert, there is no need to panic buy. As the detail reiterates, there is enough supply of basic goods and there will be no price increase until April 16 for basic necessities and prime commodities. Trade and Industry Secretary Cristina Roque told us the manufacturers also gave their word that there is enough supply. Roque said the companies they talk with, like Nestle, San Miguel, committed to keep the prices of basic commodities low and stable. The DTI, however, has yet to finalize details on any possible price increase or range of permitted possible increase after April 16, since Roque said their talks with manufacturers solely focus on supply check and keeping prices low. But she added they are of course expecting some price adjustments come April 16 as transport costs play a vital role in the pricing. She said they will study for 30 days any filing for price increase from the manufacturers. Robert, we talked with some consumers here at the two supermarkets that Roque visited. Some of them are already on a tight budget and are only buying their prioritized items. They are now awaiting whatever price adjustments may come on April 16. Back to you, Robert.
The Philippines' total fertility rate hits a record low of 1.7 children for women in 2023 to 2025. According to the Philippine Statistics Authority, this is down from 1.9 in 2022. The Department of Tourism Okay, we'll take a short break. This is Business Brief. Let's get an update at the NAIA. Hannah T joins us live. Hi, Hannah. What's the latest?
Robert, despite rising fuel prices and continuing tensions in the Middle East, passenger traffic here at the NAIA Terminal 3 is still up this Holy Week, with thousands of travelers still continuing to flock to the country's main gateway. The Manila International Airport Authority says the Holy Week rush has been in full swing over the past 2 weeks, with both arrivals and departures continuing to build up. Based on latest data from NAIA's private operator, the new NAIA Infrastructure Corporation, on Holy Monday, March 30, the airport logged about 142,000 passengers, up 1.2% from the 140,400 recorded during the same period in 2025. And an IC earlier said daily passenger volume is expected to stay above 143,000 throughout the Holy Week travel window. And an IC is projecting a total of 1.35 million passengers from March 28 to April 5, slightly higher than the 1.33 million recorded last year. So far, Robert, authorities say the Middle East crisis has not yet caused a major drop in travel demand, likely because most passengers already booked their flights in advance. But airport officials are still watching for possible disruptions, especially if the regional conflict worsens and begins to affect the prices of airline tickets. Back to you, Robert.
Okay, thank you, Hannah T, reporting live from the NAIA. Meanwhile, oil is up again. Prices are rising across the board, and with the national energy emergency now declared, ordinary Filipinos are feeling the squeeze harder than ever. Today, we break down why every global shock from the Middle East to the currency markets hits the average Pinoy faster, deeper, and longer than anyone else in the region. And joining us this afternoon is consumer advocate RJ Javellana, president of the United Filipino Consumers and Commuters, known for bringing the real stories from the streets, the terminals, and the market straight into the national conversation. Good afternoon, RJ. Welcome to the show.
Good afternoon, Robert. Thank you very much for your invitation.
Thanks for joining us today. Now, RJ, oil prices jumped again this week. What are you hearing directly from the commuters, the drivers, about how these hikes are hitting their daily budget?
Alam mo, Robert, hindi na ito theoretical. Ito'y ramdam na sikmura ng bawat Pilipino, lalong-lalo na yung mga nasa laylayan. Yan ang kalagayan. Hindi lang ito simpleng kalituhan o aligaga, no? Kung hindi talagang hindi na nila alam kung saan sila pupunta.
Now, RJ, with the Middle East conflict tumataas ang mga presyo ng mga bilihin ngayon, sa pananaw, bakit yung mga average Pinoy nafe-feel nila, yung nararamdaman nila yung impact mas mabilis ngayon kaysa mga ating mga ASEAN neighbors compared, mas mabilis nararamdaman ng ating mga average Pinoys dito?
Number one, yung mga gobyerno na nakapalibot sa Asia ay malinaw na meron silang direksyon at mga patakaran paano nila sasagipin at isa-salvage yung situation. Hindi katulad sa atin, masyadong bukang-buka yung ating ekonomiya, nariyan yung sinasabi nating oil deregulation law na pinapaubaya lang sa merkado. So sinasabi ng Pilipinas ang numero unong tinamaan dito sa Asia pagdating dito sa gera na ito, no, na nangyari diyan sa Gulpo. Sa
mga dialogues mo with the jeepney drivers on the ground, yung mga delivery riders, ano yung mga sinasabi nila sa inyo? Ano yung mga nararamdaman nila? Ano yung kailangan nila?
Una, marami pong mga jeepney drivers ang ayaw pumasada, no? Dahil sa sobrang pagsirit ng diesel, no? Nagbubunga ito ng krisis, dahan-dahan ng krisis sa pag-unahan sa transportasyon. Kaya kung makikita mo, laging jump pack ang mga tulad ng LRT, MRT, ano? Dahil ito yung mga alternative vehicles o alternative transport para mas makatipid yung mga Pilipino. Pero paano doon sa mga lugar na walang LRT, MRT? Kaya yung discussion about the public transport system natin, na kinakailangan talaga dapat sana noon pa nag-invest yung ating gobyerno. Malungkot ang katotohanan, no? kahit ang mga tricycle drivers natin, kahit merong ayuda na naibigay na, no? Kahit dyan sa jeep, merong naibigay, kulang pa rin. Kulang pa rin dahil sa bilis ngayong araw lang na to, di ba? 16 pesos ang idinagdag sa diesel, no? Kaya hindi talaga maintindihan ng transport sector na sinasabi natin na gulong ng ekonomiya ang transport sector. But the problem is, kung yung gulong ng ekonomiya ay butas, paano ang buong ekonomiya? Paano rin ang mga manggagawa na gustong pumasok sa mga pagawaan? Yan yung
Mabilis yung ang pagtaas. 4 weeks ago, less than half, more than double na ngayon ng mga presyo ng diesel at gasolina. So talagang ramdam nila.
Sabi nga ng isang senador, 120% ang itinaas, no? Nung presyo ng diesel. 120%. Just imagine, ilang araw lang yan, no? Paano kung ito'y tumagal pa ng 6 na buwan o 8 buwan? Huwag naman sana, no? Saan pupulutin si Juan at Maria, yung ating ordinaryong consumers, ordinaryo nating commuters? Saan? Saan sila pupulutin? Kung ang middle class nga ay nagtitipid na, hindi na gumagamit ng kanilang sariling sasakyan, nagko-commute na rin, paano pa yung mga talagang nasa ilalim?
Nung walang krisis, nagtitipid na. So ngayon, doble...
kahit umikot tayo kahit saan, yung basic salary ngayon natin, ng mga manggagawa, nag-shrink na yan. Nag-shrink na ang halaga niyan. Yung value, yung real value niyan.
Oh, you mentioned a while ago yung value ng 500 pesos. Ngayon, ano na yung parang realistic value today?
Alam mo, bago ako pumunta rito, dumaan muna ako sa isang tindahan. Sinubukan kong bumili doon sa halagang 500 piso. Lumabas doon sa 500 pesos na nabili ko, kulang ako ng 81 pesos. Nung chinek ko, yung mga item na pinamili ko, ito yung mga sardinas, ito yung mga noodles, ito yung sugar. Meron itong mga paggalaw na 3 pesos to 5 pesos. Pag pinagsama-sama mo yan, pumalo siya ng 81 pesos. So, ibig sabihin, 581 pesos, kulang pa ako ng 81 pesos na ibinayad ko dun sa counter. So, kung ima-minus mo yan sa 500 pesos mo, yan yung ibinaba nung value ng iyong 500 pesos. Doon lang yan sa simpleng tindahan.
Around 20% yan.
Yeah, doon lang yan sa simpleng tindahan. Paano na yung mga iba pang gastos? Kuryente.
Wala pa.
Wala, parating yan.
Ay, sa grocery na mga binili mo, puro delata lang, wala pang mga karne, wala pang gulay.
Walang bigas doon.
Wala pa, walang bigas.
O may konting sabon, no? Mga ganyan. Pero yun yung mga karamihan delata, no? May mga ordinaryong pagkain na binibili ng masang Pilipino. Kung yun ang itinaas niya, mahigit sa sinasabi nating 20%, kahit pa pinipigil ng Department of Trade and Industry o ng ating gobyerno, sinasabi nga ng manufacturing sector, hindi pa kami magtataas. Pero in reality, pag lumabas ka, pumunta ka sa palengke, punta ka sa tindahan, may mga paggalaw na nangyayari.
Ano yung mga senyales na nakita mo na pagpunta mo sa mga market vendors, mga maliliit na households, ano yung slowly ba na umaangat ang presyo ng mga bilihin?
Ang una nilang sinasabi, dahil tumaas yung gasolina, yung petrolyo, tumaas yung mga delivery cost. So kahit hindi gumalaw yung sinasabi nating pagbili dun sa actual na lugar, pero yung transport cost niya,
yung
nadagdagan, walang option ngayon, yung maliit na tindero o tindera, kung hindi mag-adjust din. Kahit wala pang ibinibigay, napagalaw ang gobyerno natin. Kaya medyo delay ng konti ang reaksyon ng ating gobyerno. Nauuna yung pamilihan, yung merkado, dun sa bilis ng pagtaas na hindi maintindihan ng consumers at commuters paano siya hahabol. Dahil nga, linggo-linggo yung nangyaring pagtaas. Talagang terrible, no? Mas matindi pa siguro ito sa aktual na bombang sumasabog sa gera kesa doon sa hindi mo nga nakikita yung mga bomba na ito pero sa bulsa mo, wasak na wasak ang bulsa ng ordinaryong Pilipino.
RJ, based sa inyong observation, yung sa paggalaw ng merkado ng langis, sa tingin nyo ba sinusundan ng mga kumpanya ang world prices o nakikita mo na may mga opportunistic dito o mga hindi sumusunod sa mga patakaran o sa mga request ng ating gobyerno at ating mga kababayan?
Alam mo, Robert, nasa ilalim tayo lang oil deregulation law. So ibig sabihin, pinauubaya sa merkado. Ang tanging papel lang ng DOE is monitoring at magmungkahi. Pero nasa kamay pa rin ng mga namumuhunan, no? Yung anong pwede niyang idiktang presyo. So walang kalaban-laban. Kahit hindi pa nangyayari ang gerang ito, wala nang kalaban-laban si Juan at si Maria, no? Lalo pang inabot ito ngayon. Kaya nakapagtataka, nung pumutok itong gera na ito, bakit kinabukasan agad sumirit pataas? Samantalang meron silang 45 days to 60 days na stock inventory.
Mga inventory na nabili na dati.
Supposed to be after 45 days or 60 days. If you will count February 28, ngayon po ay March 31, i-minus mo yung mga petsa na yan, wala pang 40 dias yan. So ang tanong, bakit nagtaas na siya ng 120% sa diesel pa lang? So, ngayon,
Sa inyo ba sapat yung mga paliwanag hinggil dito? Bakit nagtaas nga yung mga presyo ng gasolina na mabilis?
alam mo, siyempre ang gobyerno may sarili silang narrative, no? Siguro tinitingnan nila yung wag sana magpanik ang publiko, no? Wag sana magkaroon ng mga tinatawag na mga bank run, yung mga ganyang kalagayan, no? Alam mo, yung gobyerno mabagal ang kanyang reaksyon, no? Mas nakakiling siya, sabi nga namin sa Department of Energy, regulatory.
But on one side na naman, RJ, mahalaga rin na hindi magkaroon ng panic rin. Na at least pag magkaroon ng mga panic buying,
Totoo yun.
mas mabigat din yan na para sa ating ekonomiya.
Kailangan natin na
May balanse.
kumalma tayong lahat.
Oo.
Pero paano mo pakakalmahin ang gutom na sikmura?
Yun.
Alam mo kagabi, nung ako'y mga around 9 p.m., meron akong dinaanan. Nakita ko isang bata. May karga siyang bigas. 2 kilong bigas siguro. Natapon sa kalsada. Alam mo yung ginawa ng bata? Kinukuha niya, no? So tumigil ako, tinanong ko yung bata, "Iho, delikado, nasa gitna ka ng kalsada." Sabi niya, "Sir, kailangan ng bigas, iuwi ko eh." Sabi ganun. Isipin mo yon, no? Sa ganong sitwasyon, kung gaano kagipit yung sambayan ng Pilipino, ang dumi na ng bigas, pinulot pa sa kalsada, para lang may maiuwi. So, wag sanang mangyari sa atin ang nangyari sa batang ito. Kaya nakakaiyak yung sitwasyon na yun kagabi na na-witness ko. So syempre, tayo naman, kung ano yung ilang kilo yun, dinonate na lang natin sa bata. Bumili ka ng bago. No? Para yung bata, hindi rin siya pagalitan ng magulang. So yan ay isang halimbawa na ang ating gobyerno dapat proactive siya. Medyo bilisan niya. No?
Hindi reactive. Ayun.
Kapos nga lagi, kapos eh, no? Halimbawa, yung in denial pa nga yung spokesperson ng Malacañang nung una, wala raw crisis, wala. Tapos after a few days, biglang iba na ang statement, no? Tapos meron pang sinasabi
Yung
na
mga subsidies na binibigay ng gobyerno, sa tingin niyo ba sapat o kailangan pa? Or sinasabi nila, hindi naman pwede puro subsidy ang binibigay. Dapat syempre pangkabuhayan para hindi naman puro bigay lang.
una, selective ito. No? Hindi lahat. No? Particular na sektor lang. Mas marami yung hindi nakakatanggap. Paano yung hindi nakakatanggap? So, parang
Nababanggit dito yung mga middle income earners, mga
hindi lang middle income earners kasi yung poorest of the poor natin ngayon
nakakatanggap.
well, sabi ko nga very selective pa ngayon eh, no? Halimbawa, grupo ng transportasyon, no? Pero ang commuters natin, ano ba natatanggap? Ang natatanggap ng commuters ay pag nagbayad ka sa jeep o nagbayad ka sa kung saan, wala nang sukli yung 20 pesos mo.
Wala na.
Yung 17, 18 mo, wala nang 2 pesos na ibabalik sa'yo.
Normal na yan.
Yan ang nangyayari ngayon. No? So, mahiya ka naman doon sa jeepney driver. May pag-away ka pa ba sa 2 piso? Pero ilang daang 2 piso yung, dalawang piso yung sumasakay na tao. So,
Malaking bagay din yan.
malaking bagay din yun. Pero
malaking bagay din yan sa mga, siyempre, mga commuters natin na gipit din.
pag nahulog nga yung 5 piso sa bulsa mo ngayon, nag-aagawan. Dati, yung 5 piso, parang okay na yan. Pero ngayon, talagang ang tao yuyuko para hanapin yung 5 piso. Ganon.
Well, at first glance, naisip mo, nakakatawa, pero nakakalungkot. Nakakalungkot talaga yung pag nakikita natin na
In fact,
ganyan ang sitwasyon on the ground, yung sentimento ng mga nakakausap mo.
In fact, yung eskalasyon ng damdamin ng tao na yan, kapag nagtuloy-tuloy, no, ang pagtaas ng presyo na ito, talagang kinakailangan kumapit tayo, no?
Pero RJ, as a consumer advocate, yung mga napapakinggan mong mga reklamo ng ating mga consumers, ano yung mga pinakamalaking pain point nila right now as working Filipinos sa nararamdaman nila as we go through this crisis that we're in habang nag-aantay tayo na magkaroon ng easing out dyan sa Middle East para medyo gumanda naman ng ekonomiya ng lahat, hindi lang Pilipinas.
Alam mo, Sir Robert, bago ang krisis na to, matagal nang mahigpit ang sinturon ng ating mga kababayan.
Mas mahigpit na ngayon.
Matindi ngayon. Itong hambalos na ito, itong bagyo na ito, hindi lang ito basta ondoy, hindi lang ito basta lindol. Kahit mismo ang gobyerno ay aligaga, no? Doon sa mga iniisip nilang mga solusyon. Pero again, dapat may address na ito agad, wag nang ngayong April 16, katulad ng effectivity nitong national emergency na ginawa, no, na executive order, April 16 pa, magti-take effect.
Kaya ba sa tingin niyo yung itong nabigyan na ng powers ang presidente para ibaba o i-suspend ang excise tax, sa tingin niyo ba kailangan nang gawin to o kasi pinag-uusapan pa, depende kung ano yung mawawala rin sa mga proyekto ng gobyerno kung mawala yung tax na yan. Ano sa tingin nyo ang...
Sa akin, simple lang. Dapat nung pinirmahan niya ang kinabukasan, nag-take effect na ang excise tax na itong implementasyon na ito. Huwag nang hintayin ang mga cabinet secretary, no? Yung 2 weeks o 1 week o sabihin natin 3 weeks bago ipatupad.
Pero may provision yan eh. So may sinusundan tayong batas.
Tama, pero nasa extraordinary situation tayo. Pwede pa nga na itaas.
Kasi may emergency powers.
Pwede pang itaas. Sabihin mo na nakalagay sa saligang batas, National Economy and Patrimony, Section 17 and 18, sinasabi doon, sa panahon ng pambansang kagipitan, in times of national emergency, maaari, kahit pansamantala, kahit temporary, pwedeng kunin ng gobyerno para sa kapakanan at interes ng lahat, no? Pwede niyang gawin 'yon. Kaya ang sinasabi nating National Energy Emergency, kapos. Mas pa yan sa monitoring. Parang tingin nga namin, parang ang...
Mas malawak pa.
Parang ang kinampihan
sa problema ng energy.
Parang kinampihan pa itong mga...
Pero RJ, ikaw matagal ka na isang consumer advocate. Marami ka rin nadaan ng mga krisis. Ano yung kinaibahan ngayon na dinadaanan natin ngayon kaysa yung mga napagdaanan natin, yung COVID, yung mga dati na nagkaroon din tayo ng mga krisis sa oil?
Sa COVID, malinaw, no? Alam ng tao, no? Ito, hindi mo alam yung acceleration nito. Ang tindi. Iba ang dating nito, no? Kung sa COVID, maraming namatay dahil sa karamdaman. Ito po, ang gutom. Mas tataas po ang insidente ng kahirapan sa atin. Kaya, sana yung katwiran ng gobyerno na pass on sa ating mga consumers ay tigilan
sa tingin
na
nyo
nila.
ba napakabilis lahat ng mga pangyayaring ito, yung mga pagtaas ng mga bilihin in span of 1 month?
Balikan natin, tanungin natin, singilin natin ang Department of Energy, bakit niya pinapahintulutan, payagang magtaas doon sa mga inventory stocks na meron pa. Kung 60 days yan, kung ngayon ay running 40 days pa lang tayo o 35 days, bakit hanggang ngayon, sa oras na ito, pinapayagan nila? So anong gusto nilang palabasin? Na pwede tayong taasan anytime nitong mga kumpanya na ito, samantalang tayo, susunod na lang tayo. Kaya ang tanong, ang mga tao, meron pa ba tayong gobyerno? Nararamdaman pa ba natin yung gobyerno? ang gobyerno ba natin ay para sa tao o para lang sa iilang mga very powerful na sinasabi nga natin, oligarchy, di ba? So, ang linaw na merong regulatory capture sa lahat ng level, lalong-lalo na sa ekonomiya, lalong-lalo na sa petrolyo. Kitang-kita ng presidente, kitang-kita ng palasyo kung ano ang dapat gawin, pero hindi nila ginagawa.
Kung kayo ang tatanungin sa mga naririnig nyo sa mga consumers natin na nakakausap mo, ano yung unang dapat gawin sa tingin nyo? Na makakatulong ng mabilisan para sa
gas na
atin?
panawagan na ito. Yung value-added tax na 12%, pumasok na nga itong excise tax, di ba? Matagal na yan, no? Ngayon, yung pinakamainit, yung pagbasura ng oil deregulation law na nakita natin since 1998 hanggang ngayong oras na ito, ngayong araw na ito, ano ang naging epekto nito sa publiko. Dahil walang kamay ang gobyerno eh. Wala siyang control. No? Aminado tayo na wala naman tayong ganong petrolyo. Pero kinakailangan, meron tayong ihanda. So ngayon pa lang ba natin ihanda yung mga imbakan ng mga petrolyong ito? Makalipas ng 60 days, 90 days, o sabihin nating 3 months? Saan tayo pupulutin?
Pero yung mga ganyang usapin, medyo matagal yan pag pinag-usapan natin yung deregulation law. Pero yung sa tingin nyo, yung mabilisan na makakatulong sa ating mga kababayan na naghihirap ngayon?
Well, alam mo, sabi ko nga, kapag diniklara ng presidente, ginamit niya yung section Article 12, no? Section 17 at 18. 50% ng presyo sa lahat ay pwedeng bumaba. Kuryente, tubig, transportasyon, telekomunikasyon, pagkain, gamot, no? Kayang ibaba yan. Bakit? Kasi mag-i-intervene ng gobyerno eh. Pansamantala, temporary, para yung masalba niya yung taong bayan. So, yan, automatic yan. Mararamdaman ng tao. So, it's a matter of choice, di ba? Sa pagtimbang.
Yes.
Totoo, mawawalan ng tubo itong mga negosyante na ito. Pero sino bang isasalba mo? Itong mga mayayaman na ito, kahit 3 beses pa silang mamatay sa mundong ito, ang perang inipon nila ay sobra-sobra. Samantalang tayo, bukas ang problema ng consumer at ng commuters, ano ang isasaing natin? Meron ba tayong sasaing mamayang gabi? Meron ba tayong lulutuin? Yan ang... Tapos ito pa. Ngayon, ito pa tayo. So, kanino tayo hingi ng tulong? Di sa gobyerno, kaya nga may gobyerno eh. Ang gobyerno para sa kapakanang pambayan, para sa public interest. Yan ngayon ang tanong ng marami. Meron ba tayong gobyerno ngayon? Nasaan ang ating gobyerno? Di ba? Puro mga piecemeal solution. Kailangan ngayon ng mga radical na solusyon, permanenteng solusyon, para ma-avert natin ito. Kung may darating pang gera, hahaba pa yan,
Yes.
dapat ngayon na. Dapat
RJ,
ngayon na.
finally, realistically, nandito na tayo na nasa crisis mode na yung mga ating mga kababayan ay naghihigpit ng sintiron. Ano yung advice mo para sa ating mga kababayan habang nag-aantay ng tulong o matapos itong crisis na ito? Ano yung pwede nilang gawin para sa kanila para to be able to survive and to go through while waiting? Kasi dito na tayo, habang nag-aantay din. Ano ba yung...
Marami kasi sa mga kababayan natin ang baon na sa utang. So, kakapit ba tayo uli sa utang? Tulad ng bansa natin, baon na sa utang. Yung mga ayuda na yan, utang din yan. So, ang lahat na nangyayari ngayon ay sasagutin niya ng hinaharap ng susunod na henerasyon. Ang bawat Pilipino ngayon ay merong 168,000 na pagkakautang. Bago pa ang gerang ito. Pumutok ang gerang ito, hindi ko alam kung 168,000, baka umabot ng 200,000 na kada Pilipino ang pagkakautang na yan.
At huling panawagan na RJ, ano sa tingin mo ang pinakamalakas na protection na maibibigay sa mga consumer kung may gagawang polisiya ang ating mga taga-gobyerno?
Pakinggan ng ating presidente ang sigaw ng taong bayan. No? Panigan naman niya ang taong bayan. Kampihan niya ang taong bayan. Huwag lang yung mga ilang mga nagdidesisyon sa mga negosyo na yan. No? Ito yung mga korporasyon. Kaya kung kayang bigyan ito ng sinasabing wealth tax, medyo matagal yan, pero kailangan. Survival tax, gawin. Di ba? Pulungin niya itong mga oligarko na ito. O limbawa, o ikaw, A, punta ka rito. Baka pwede mag-donate ka ng 30 billion sa gobyerno. Ikaw B, punta ka rito. Ikaw C. Yung pera na yun, i-pool nila yung resources na yun. Anyway, hindi naman nila madadala sa langit yun eh.
At sana magamit sa tama. Oh.
Ito ngayon ang pagbabayanihan,
Yes.
ang pagtutulungan natin. Ito ngayon yung magkapit-bisag tayo bilang Pilipino. Hindi ito usapin ng kulay ng politika ng pink, dilaw o kung ano man. Pilipino tayo eh.
Ganun, kapag nakikita tayo sa global stage, yung nakikita sa atin, yung bayanihan, resilience natin. So, hopefully, makarating din tayo sa ganyan.
Dyan. Ang problema nga lang, babalikan natin uli pag kumalang ang bituka, ang tiyan.
Okay.
Umiyak ang baby, wala kang maibigay na gatas. Anong gagawin ng tatay at nanay?
Well, on that note, RJ, maraming salamat sa inyong mga insights and hopefully we all get through this, yung ating mga kababayan at yun, maganda yung mga advice mo na syempre kailangan din natin talagang humigpit ang ating mga sinturon pero kailangan din natin tulungan ang ating sarili at hindi mag-antay sa gagawin kung ano man ng ating gobyerno.
Yes.
Okay, maraming salamat RJ. Thank you for your time.
Mabuhay ka.
Okay, we'll take a short break. This is Business Brief. The Department of Tourism shares a range of travel options for those who still wish to travel amid the rising fuel costs. The DOT said the public may explore value-driven options, including walking or biking tours, farm visits, community-based tourism, and nature escape. Meanwhile, those planning to travel are told to consider accredited enterprises and service providers for quality and safety. The DOT also reminded travelers to remain mindful of local customs, care for the environment, and support local enterprises and tourism workers. The newly opened segment of the Central Luzon Link Expressway is expected to help reduce travel time and lower price transport costs. According to President Marcos, the travel time between Tarlac and Cabanatuan City will be reduced from 1 hour and 30 minutes to just 20 minutes. He added that shorter travel time would also translate to lower fuel consumption and help maintain the prices of commodities, especially rice. The new road segment will be toll-free until December and is expected to serve nearly 12,000 vehicles daily. Cuba's energy crisis is deepening under a U.S. oil squeeze, forcing allies to step in. Mexico now asserts its right to send fuel to Cuba for both humanitarian and commercial use. This comes as U.S. President Donald Trump signals a softer stance, saying he has no problem with countries shipping oil to Cuba.
Mexico has every right to send fuel to Cuba, whether for humanitarian or commercial reasons. Private companies, because there are private companies in Cuba, there are hotels, there are other private companies in Cuba that require fuel, and these private companies, such as hotels, are looking for private entities willing to supply them with fuel, not necessarily from government to government. There are private entities that have approached us, for example, to buy fuel from Pemex and take it to private businesses in Cuba.
But the White House clarifies there is no formal change in U.S. sanctions policy. Washington allows a sanctioned Russian tanker to deliver much-needed oil on a case-by-case humanitarian basis. A Makati court rejects GMA Network's bid to block the Securities and Exchange Commission's rule limiting the independent directors to 9 years. The city's Regional Trial Court Branch 38 said GMA's request for a temporary restraining order lacked urgency. It noted the network had already postponed its stockholders' meeting from May to December, a fact omitted in its petition. The SEC rule bars directors from serving again as independents after 9 years but allows them to be regular directors. Agabi Lopez-led majority oust Federico Piqui Lopez as president and chief executive officer of Lopez Incorporated over billions in questionable transactions. The February 27 board vote was temporarily blocked by court order. The majority, which holding a 71% of shares, is petitioning to lift it. They cited company bylaws. Efforts to audit First Gen Corporation were blocked by Piqui's camp through a non-disclosure agreement. The majority refused to sign and will push for the audit. Some deals only came to light through media reports. The Metro Pacific Group of Bilyonaryo Manny Pangilinan is strengthening its hold on Axilum Resources Corporation. This came as Metro Pacific Agro Ventures Incorporated moved its entire 31.33% stake or 1.19 billion shares to wholly owned unit Metro Pacific Coconut Holdings Corporation. The March 27 transaction was priced at 2 pesos per share, valuing the block at approximately 2.38 billion pesos. As nations watch inflation spike from the U.S.-Iran war, Federal Reserve Chair Jerome Powell says the central bank can wait and see how the conflict affects the economy. With U.S. gas prices averaging $4 a gallon since the war began, Powell notes that policymakers typically look through temporary shocks.
Inflation expectations do appear to be well anchored beyond the short term, but nonetheless, it's something as we will eventually maybe face the question of what to do here. We're not really facing it yet because we don't know what the economic effects will be, but we'll certainly be mindful of that broader context when we make that decision.
The Fed holds its benchmark rate at 3.5 to 3.75%, while investor worries push Treasury yields higher and household price expectations show a mixed picture. A large throne with a golden toilet appears at the National Mall in Washington in a critique of U.S. President Donald Trump's renovations to the White House. Styled to look like marble and gold, the throne features a toilet instead of a seat and a plaque that reads "A throne fit for a king."
I think it's actually appropriate. When we were walking out, I couldn't figure out if this was something real or not, and I feel like that's the way our politics is right now. I can't even believe some of the things that I'm hearing and seeing from our commander-in-chief. So this really fits his program. You know, he likes to stir up the shit. So anyway, this is very appropriate. I hope they keep it up here.
The statue includes a roll of toilet paper with the words "The Secret Handshake." That's the name of a group that claimed responsibility for a previous statue depicting Trump and late sex offender Jeffrey Epstein. We'll take a short break. This is Business Brief. Asian shares trade mostly lower amid mixed signs of Iran war de-escalation. Among Asian shares, only ASX 200 is in the green, with Kospi falling the most at over 4%. In currency trading, the US dollar mostly appreciates against the greenback. In commodities, gold trades higher while oil prices are mixed. In crypto, Bitcoin rises 1.46%, Ethereum adds almost 2%. Philippine shares end in the positive territory. The PSEI closes over 1% higher to 59.48. Among the sectoral indices, only services end in the red, with mining and oil rising the most at almost 3%. Advancers outpace decliners 124 to 79, with value turnover at 9.8 billion pesos. The day's most active stocks are mixed, with SM Investments rising the most at over 5%. Ayala Land falls the most at 0.7%. In currencies, the peso closes at 67.48 against the US dollar, from the previous close of 60.69. This is the lowest close in history. The Securities and Exchange Commission, or SEC, extends the 20% discount on corporate registration fees for micro, small, and medium enterprises until the end of 2026. In a memorandum circular, the SEC said the move aims to support business growth. SEC noted the discount has already saved MSMEs about 54.77 million pesos as of March 26. The SEC added that as the backbone of the Philippine economy, MSMEs deserve every opportunity to grow and thrive. 94-year-old Cesar Virata has been elected independent director of City Land, replacing Eduardo Villanueva. Virata will serve the unexpired term left by Villanueva, who resigned in December, citing personal reasons. Virata brings decades of experience in government, banking, and corporate leadership. He served as finance minister from 1970 to 1986 during the first Marcos administration. He later represented the country in multilateral institutions, including the World Bank and the Asian Development Bank. Investors are cashing in just months after Maynilad's IPO. The International Finance Corporation begins selling part of its stake in Maynilad Water Services Incorporated. In March, IFC sells 3.74 million shares, locking in gains as the stock jumps 32% since its November 2025 debut. Despite the sales, IFC still holds over 383 million shares, maintaining a stake above the 5% disclosure threshold. Maynilad shares trade near 20 pesos, up from the IPO price of 15 pesos, keeping investor interest strong. GT Capital Holdings of the T family is strengthening control over federal land NRE Global Incorporated. The conglomerate bought a 20% stake from wholly owned Federal Land Incorporated for 9.16 billion pesos. GT Capital said the move gives it a more direct role in key real estate projects. This includes the 600-hectare River Park Township in Cavite. 3 vice presidents of Union Bank of the Philippines resigned. The departures, effective early April, covered corporate banking, analytics, and private banking. The officers are Ana Roxanne Matsuda, Ana Beatriz Gonzalez, and Ralph Sylvester Alo. The bank has not announced replacements. Easter week begins in El Salvador with a centuries-old ceremony called Devil's Whip, a ritual meant to symbolize the struggle between good and evil. The tradition takes place each year in the town of Texas-Tepeque, located north of the capital, San Salvador. Participants, known as Talsiguines or Demon Man, dress as devils and lash those who come forward seeking to repent for their sins. The Talsiguines and a man disguised as Jesus first attend Mass and offer their performance as a sacrifice. When Mass ends, the whipping begins on the streets. The ceremony ends with a man dressed as Jesus ringing a bell and walking over the bodies of the Talsiguines who lie face down on the ground, a symbolic representation of good triumphing over evil. And that's a wrap for today's Business Brief. I'm Robert Tan. Join us again tomorrow for the stories that help you plan your next big, bold business moves. Only here on BNC, the Bilyonaryo News Channel.